Spoon Island. We have been led to believe that the reign of terror ended in a massive pool of blood. The story being sold to the public is that Jocelyn pulled the trigger, delivering a fatal pinpoint shot that supposedly stopped the rogue director in his tracks and ended the nightmare once and for all. It sounds like a perfect, neat conclusion to a chaotic chapter. The villain is vanquished, the hostages are freed, and the intelligence agency can sweep the entire embarrassing mess under the rug. But if you ask me, something isn't adding up anymore. The way the scene was locked down, the speed at which the narrative was pushed to the public, and the sheer convenience of the villain's sudden demise all point to a massive, coordinated cover-up. We may be looking at the biggest deception the intelligence community has ever pulled on this town. You have to look closely at the intricate mechanics of the intelligence world to understand why this official story feels so incredibly hollow and fabricated. A new detail could expose the truth, and that detail lies in the sheer, unimaginable value of the secrets trapped inside the mind of the man who supposedly died. We are expected to believe at the head of a global spy syndicate, a man who orchestrated a massive network of double agents and commanded the highly volatile cold fusion project, was simply allowed to bleed out on the floor of a Gothic castle. That contradicts every single protocol we know about how these shadow organizations operate. They do not waste assets, and they certainly do not let a walking hard drive of classified, world-ending secrets simply take those secrets to the grave. The sudden silence surrounding the aftermath is deafening. It feels less like a standard crime scene investigation and much more like a highly coordinated Black Ops extraction. That brings us to the ultimate clue, the specific detail that unravels this entire fragile facade. We need to focus intensely on the exact moment Jocelyn fired that weapon and the immediate, almost unnatural response from Z. If that bullet had truly been fatal, there would have been a standard medical examiner process, a public confirmation, and a definitive closing of the file. Instead, Z arrived with a specialized cleanup crew that operated with terrifying mechanical efficiency. The clue here is the absolute lack of a body and the immediate top secret classification of the event. Z did not act like a leader mourning a fallen rogue agent or securing a standard crime scene. Z acted like a warden securing a highly valuable, severely damaged prisoner. The way the scene was sterilized suggests that the bullet did not end a life, but rather incapacitated a target just enough for the real, hidden operation to begin. If we analyze the trajectory of that night, it becomes glaringly obvious that keeping the villain alive is the only logical play for someone as calculating and ruthless as Z. Think about the cold fusion prototype and the extensive list of compromised operatives operating globally. If the mastermind is dead, tracking down the remaining sleeper cells and recovering the lost, world-altering data becomes an impossible nightmare. Z knows this. The agency knows this. The big clue is the absolute necessity of interrogation. You simply cannot interrogate a corpse. Therefore, the shot fired by Jocelyn was not a killing blow. It was a highly convenient tranquilizer that handed the ultimate traitor over to the very people he betrayed, bound and broken, ready to be squeezed for every single drop of intel he possesses. If this detail is true, if the mastermind actually survived that gunshot, it could explain a lot about the historical patterns of this shadow organization. We have to connect the dots to their past behavior to see the truth. Think back to Jason. When Jason was taken, the world was led to believe one thing, while the reality was far more sinister and hidden deep underground. The agency has a long, documented history of making people vanish from the face of the earth, keeping them locked away in top secret facilities while their loved ones mourn empty graves. If they did it to Jason, a man who was ultimately a pawn in their larger geopolitical games, they would absolutely do it to a high-ranking traitor who holds the keys to global security. The precedent is already there, staring us right in the face, demanding to be acknowledged. Connecting these dots makes the absolute silence of Z incredibly suspicious. If the rogue director is alive, it means Z is currently orchestrating a massive off-the-books detention operation. It explains why the cleanup on Spoon Island was handled exclusively by elite, deeply trusted operatives rather than standard local authorities. They could not risk a local paramedic or police officer checking a pulse and realizing the dead man was still breathing. Every single action taken by Z in the aftermath of the shooting points to a highly classified transport mission. The destination? A black site. A place that does not exist on any map, completely devoid of human rights, oversight, or mercy. This is where things become extremely interesting, because it shifts the entire narrative from a story of a villain's demise to a story of ultimate agonizing retribution. Here is the massive theory, the big reveal that could change the entire landscape of Port Charles forever. The man who terrorized everyone is not resting in peace. He is currently enduring a fate far, far worse than death. I believe Z has transported him to an impenetrable, subterranean black site designed specifically for the most dangerous traitors in the world. In this facility, there is no daylight, no hope of rescue, and absolutely no end to the interrogation. He will be kept alive by humming medical machines just enough to answer questions, day after day, year after year. For a man who thrived on absolute control and supreme power, being reduced to a helpless, forgotten prisoner in an endless void is the ultimate psychological torture. The agency did not give him the mercy of a quick death. They gave him an eternity of suffering in the shadows. But the theory does not stop there, because another major player is undoubtedly sharing a similar, yet distinctly different fate. We have to talk about Cassius. The public narrative suggests Cassius might just disappear into the wind or face standard justice, but that completely ignores the extreme complexity of his final actions. In the absolute climax of the chaos, Cassius made a shocking, split-second decision to turn on his master. He took down the rogue operative guarding the perimeter. He directly saved Carly from a grim and fatal fate, and his betrayal was the structural collapse that allowed the entire rescue mission to succeed. Cassius flipped the script at the midnight hour. But as we all know, one good deed does not erase a mountain of sins in the eyes of a ruthless intelligence agency. That is where the situation with Cassius becomes incredibly layered and fascinating. Yes, he played a pivotal role in stopping the cold fusion disaster and saving Carly, but we cannot forget the sheer terror he inflicted on Jocelyn. He kidnapped her, held her hostage in a nightmare scenario, and subjected her to unimaginable psychological trauma. Z is not a fool. And Z does not hand out free passes just because a mercenary grew a conscience at the last possible second. Therefore, I believe Cassius has also been swept up by Z's elite extraction team. He is not being sent to a standard prison, nor is he being given a hero's medal. He is being taken deep into the agency's clandestine medical facilities. Once Cassius is treated for the severe injuries he sustained during the brutal showdown, he will face a terrifying internal tribunal. Z will hold a secret trial to determine if Cassius possesses any remaining value or if he is simply a liability to be disposed of permanently. This tribunal will weigh his last-minute heroism against his horrific crimes against Jocelyn. Cassius will be walking a razor-thin tightrope between execution and forced servitude. If he survives the tribunal, it will only be because Z realizes his unique skill set can be repurposed for the agency's future operations. But make no mistake, Cassius is currently locked in a highly secure agency hospital, completely at the mercy of the very people he spent months manipulating and fighting. If this massive theory holds true, we have to look at the immediate and devastating aftermath playing out right now. The physical and structural toll of this war is unprecedented. We know that Jack is in catastrophic shape following the brutal attack he suffered. His severe injuries have completely sidelined him, effectively removing a major piece from the agency's chessboard. Jack's incapacitation creates a massive, gaping power vacuum right in the heart of the local intelligence network. The agency needs a strong, ruthless, and highly capable leader on the ground immediately to maintain order and ensure the remaining sleeper cells do not activate. They need someone who understands the enemy perfectly, because he used to be one of them. This is the exact moment where Valentine steps out of the shadows and claims the throne. Think about it carefully. Valentine was a hunted man, a fugitive on the run, facing the terrifying prospect of rotting in a European supermax prison. But Valentine is also the man who willingly walked into the lion's den in Geneva, met with Z, and handed over the entire blueprint of the rogue director's treason. Valentine's proactive cooperation was the catalyst that brought the whole evil empire crashing down. Z operates on pure pragmatism, not emotion. Z knows that Valentine's intellect, his ruthlessness, and his intimate knowledge of the Cold Fusion Project make him the absolute perfect candidate to fill the massive void left by Jack. Valentine is not going to prison. He is going to be handed the keys to the kingdom. I truly believe Z will officially sanction Valentine, keeping him right there in town as the new, undisputed head of local operations. This is the ultimate redemption arc, but it is built on a foundation of necessary evil. Valentine will transition from a rogue operative to the sanctioned puppet master, wielding the full, terrifying authority of the agency. He will be tasked with cleaning up the immense mess left behind, hunting down the remnants of the double agent network, and securing the region. For Valentine, this is a massive victory, a chance to reclaim his life and his immense power, but it comes with the heavy burden of being forever leashed to Z's command. If Valentine takes over, the ripple effects on the younger generation will be monumental, specifically for Jocelyn. Carly has been screaming from the rooftops, demanding that Jocelyn be pulled out of this dangerous life, desperate to sever her daughter's ties to the intelligence world. But Jocelyn just proved she has the ice-cold blood of a true operative running through her veins. She took down a global mastermind while severely injured. Z is utterly amazed by her potential, and Z is not going to let a prodigy walk away. Instead of leaving the life behind, Jocelyn is going to be pulled deeper into the abyss, and her new mentor will be none other than Valentine. Imagine the incredible dynamic of Valentine molding Jocelyn into an elite agent. Valentine knows every dirty trick, every psychological manipulation, and every lethal tactic in the book. He understands the dark side of the world better than anyone alive. Under his expert guidance, Jocelyn will not just heal from her trauma, she will weaponize it. She will learn to navigate the shadows with the same lethal grace as her new mentor, rejecting the safe, quiet life her mother desperately wants for her. This is a devastating blow to Carly, who will have to watch her daughter embrace the very darkness she tried to protect her from. Jocelyn will transform from a traumatized hostage into the agency's most promising and dangerous new weapon, securing her permanent place in this dangerous new world order. We simply cannot ignore the sheer brutality of what just transpired. The physical cost of this victory is staggering. Cassius is battered and facing a terrifying tribunal. Jocelyn is fighting through severe gunshot wounds and immense psychological trauma. The rogue director is suffering an agonizing existence in a sensory-deprived black site. Jack is fighting for his life in a hospital bed, his power stripped away entirely. Even Ethan caught the violent backlash of this explosive conflict, sustaining injuries in the chaos. Blood has been spilled on every single side, and the deep scars left behind will define these characters for years to come. The victory was secured, but the price was paid in flesh, bone, and shattered innocence. Many unnamed operatives likely lost their lives in the shadows just to bring this horrific chapter to a close. We may be looking at the beginning of something huge, a complete and total restructuring of power that will change everything. The agency has been reborn in the intense fires of Spoon Island, emerging more ruthless and secretive than ever before. With Valentine holding the reins, Z pulling the strings from the dark, and Jocelyn stepping into her lethal potential, the landscape has permanently shifted. The truth about what really happened to the rogue director and Cassius could be closer than anyone realizes, buried just beneath the surface of the official lies. Someone may not be ready for what is coming next, because the shadows are expanding, and the real game of survival has only just begun. Keep your eyes open, guys, because this story is far from over.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.